Hello, my name is Diane Phillips. I'm from the Faculty of Business, Government and Law in the Canberra Business School. I have a Master's in Educational Psychology and I majored in Critical Creative Thinking. Today this session is about tips, tricks and hacks to help you be more creative, whether you're in lockdown or not lockdown, but there's certainly a focus there about us being in a different context. So the first thing is that I really want to say, being creative thinkers, it's a bit like learning to ride a bike. All of us need to continually make sure that we engage our brains differently, and if we don't practice, then our brains don't get any different, just like riding a bike. So these problem-solving techniques that we already have then become the habits that we form, and if you want to be a creative thinker, you kind of need to break those habits. So these tips and tricks and hacks are about helping with that as well. So be purposeful, be mindful, and start to think about how you develop your brain all the time. So I'm going to start with Sherlock Holmes. And I guess we'd know Conan Doyle's character as a deductive thinker. And we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of his hacks there as well. So just going to move on. So the first one's going to be divergent and convergent thinking. And so this is the first step of going broadly, benchmarking internationally, benchmarking via industries, doing all of that sort of information gathering of what the rest of the world does, if you like, and then starting to think about how you might manage that. So you might then do some brainstorming with your colleagues to widen out. You might do some lateral thinking techniques. Those really common business creative sort of elements, I suppose. And of course, design students would know this as well, and education students also. So lots of people do this in their spaces in different ways. And then, of course, we need to converge it back in. We need to focus, we need to manage, we need to collect all those things and think about which ones we should prioritise. So in the middle of all of that, we can do what's called a Delphi technique, where all those ideas that you've done from your divergent thinking and the brainstorming activities, etc., are listed, and then you send them around by email or in a Google Doc or a MS Teams doc or whatever, and get people to add and comment on them, and then prioritise them. So Delphi technique's quite handy during lockdown as well. So let me just click on the next slide. So it really is about getting both of these bits of your brain working together, and so the divergent and the thinking need to come together. That means critical and creative thinking happen at the same time. So one of the reasons I'm going to refer to critical thinking here as well is because in well-developed minds, these things will happen continuously and at the same time. So all right, so the next one's called seeing the same things as everybody else and seeing something different. There's lots of theories on this, and one's called making the familiar strange. But I guess the easiest way is for you to go outside on the driveway, look out the window, go out on the balcony, and look at the world from different perspectives. Sit on the floor and have a look what the world looks like differently. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. Pay attention to things that you don't normally pay attention to. Develop your observational skills, in other words, and start to see things a little bit differently. So, you know, driving home a different way is going to bring that to your attention as well. So seeing things differently is about breaking some of those habits that you have so that your mind starts to be more open and freer so that you can be a good creative thinker. The next section is really about organisation and discipline, and a couple of little hacks and tricks there for that. So my MBA class and I were doing this the other day, and they came up with some really interesting ideas that were about their well-being, because that was the task. So some of them are appropriate. So family all cook dinner together, and they're all allowed one ingredient. So that's an interesting way to develop your creativity. So that was one of them. And then myself and one of my students came up with, I mean, I always do this, but she picked it up from me. So I colour code everything. Everything goes in here. But what's important is there's opportunity time in here. So this is next week, starting today, Sunday. For me, and color coded them. Everything goes in there for two reasons. One, the next thing I'll talk about is a system called Calendly. But also I can see everything that needs to be done there. So for me, that's a serious management tool. Everything goes in, planning time, you name it, everything. The second tool I want to talk to you about, we'll go back, is called Calendly. So go and have a look at your 365 add-ons. Calendly is one of those add-ons. And what it does is it links with Office 365 and allows people to book 15-minute appointments with you in your spare time. So it connects to the calendar and then people can do it. So the last 10 days I've had 35 student appointments. They all booked it that way. Didn't get all of those emails because they don't know how to use Outlook in terms of scheduling assistance, and it just shows them, and they can only book a 15-minute appointment. So to me, that's one of those things that helps me. It books in straight away. I can move it, I can change it, everything. But have a look at the add-ons. Calendly is a great one. I have to tell you, it saved me a great deal of time. I've made a great deal of time as well. But look at all the other add-ons. That might be something to help you. I showed you my block out time, and the opportunity thinking time is the important bit. And then the other thing that I do is I make a list from that day to the next day. I've put those elements in my calendar wherever I need to and colour-coded them, which might seem a bit obsessive, but to me it's about brightening up my work environment. And then I've got the list in front of me as well, so I know where the starting blocks are. So I do the small list for maybe a research project, or I'll do it for the teaching class that I've got to prepare as well. So quite detailed in that sort of element. So I hope those organisational tips help. The next one is Edward de Bono, popular psychologist. I'm sure you've heard of brainstorming, lateral thinking, 6 thinking hats, those sorts of elements. And this is a technique called provocation. And it's one of his, and it's a really nice, simple, easy technique if you get stuck when you're trying to come up with ideas. So the A to B area is where we are thinking. That's our problem-solving pathway, and provocation is exactly it. It provokes you to do something different. So at the point of provocation, you could open a book, and I've got here my change management book. Just open a book, any page, put your finger down, and the word is program, and you apply that to the problem. Or ask the kids, the children at home, or your partner for a word. And it's about stimulating you and give you some other stimulus and making you apply that new word, that picture, whatever you want, to the problem and taking you off on different tangents. And it works for me when I'm tired or I've had a really busy day and I still need to think through some problems as well. So that might be helpful as well. Let me just click to the next one. De Bono is all about colour with his 6 thinking hats, and he's got quite a few books that talk about colour. And so it's pretty hard if you've only got a small work environment, or like me, a small desk. So you could simply have a change of light bulb. If you don't have a nice globe like that, change the colour of the light globe, which I'm sure you can buy at Woolies online, things like that as well. I've used lots of different screensavers to brighten up the day. I've actually now just put a collage that I made out of leftover jewellery and old nail polish and stuff, because I paint and draw and do that sort of stuff. So I've just put something new on the wall. So think about your environment. The other tip or trick here is to play musical chairs. If there's somebody working on the kitchen table, someone out in the back patio, someone at the desk, someone in their room or sitting in the bedroom, or there's a desk in the bedroom, and then play musical chairs. So regular breaks, make sure you get regular breaks, and then play musical chairs. So brighten up your environment a little bit. And I tend to move around and do that anyway. So brighten up your day. I also tend to make sure that when I'm online that I wear full makeup, just so I don't scare my students. Sorry, that's me being flippant. And dress up in something bright that's going to, cheer you up a little bit, particularly if you're a bit down in the dumps because you had a really long day yesterday or whatever the case may be. It might sound a bit simple, but it works. And my students all did that last week in their class. They all came in their bright, colourful clothes, and the energy in the class is quite high. So So perhaps play some games with your teams as well like that. And of course, there's plenty of De Bono's books, lateral thinking techniques, and there's plenty about creativity and colour. But yellows and greens are the colours that are normally going to make you more creative. I personally also like pale blues as well, nice and calming in that sort of sense. So where are we, Bubba? So the next point is about playing games. So if you've got children, that's great because you'll be doing that as a natural part of life. If you don't, or they've left the nest already, then perhaps you need to play some games. This one's called force-fitting triggers, and it's from a theory called morphological analysis, where things morph together is probably the easiest and quickest way to explain it. And so we've got the Sahara Desert here, or Australian desert. This is Ziggy, my robot. You can see he's got his UC name badge on there. And then I just picked a picture from the internet of light bulbs. And so if I'm going to force these three things together, force these triggers together, I'm thinking to myself, in the desert, we could have solar power, the light bulbs, to create energy to run Ziggy. So I'm going to have sand farms. And so that's the idea. You pick any three pictures. It's a bit like provocation. If you get stuck, it's a nice, quick, easy technique for you to think, and it's called force-fitting triggers. And of course, again, this is about breaking those pathways, those regular problem-solving pathways that you use. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. The similar sort of problem-solving techniques that you use. So the next one. So this is a little bit more a broad brush, but and it's going to lead into some elements about thinking like Leonardo da Vinci creatively. So our job is to develop our whole brains, all of it. And you can see here that there's 4 sections. I'm not going to go into the detail, but the purpose here is that you develop your whole brain. And the easiest way to do that is through music. Music lights up every single part of your brain when you are listening, watching, singing, and playing at the same time. And you're probably thinking, oh well, I'm not very good musically. But so do a little experiment with yourself, which can lead to putting some music on in the mornings and things like that. So the first thing is to blindfold yourself and listen to one of your favourite tracks. And let all the emotion wash over you and all those memories and things, and really get in the moment and listen to it. And then later on in the day, listen to it and watch it. So use a YouTube clip to do it, and listen to it and watch it and see the difference. The next stage is the third stage, where you listen, watch and sing. So you really have to get in the zone there, and then think about how that impacted on you. And then the fourth one then is to listen, watch, sing and play. So if you don't have a guitar, or you're not very good at it, or whatever those elements are, you can get some rice and put it in an old jar and use it as a shaker. You can get a pot and pan and use a couple of wooden spoons. So the action of playing, singing, watching and listening is what will get those neural pathways in your brain all working together. So that creative and critical thinking, left and right sides of your brain, are all starting to work together. And hopefully then in the mornings, the first thing you do is put some music on in the house and sing along and get 3/4 of your brain working if you don't play musical instruments. So that leads me into Leonardo da Vinci's thinking. And one of his things was using all of your senses, which in a sense is what whole brain theory does, right? The only one it doesn't really use is your sense of smell. So it uses your visual, it uses your auditory, and it uses your kinesthetic, your hands-on active, but it doesn't use your smell. So let's add smell into that and start to think about using all your senses. Close your eyes and just smell. Close your eyes and just listen and see how that enacts your brain and gets some extra creativity going as well. The next one, there's 2 left to go, is what I'm calling make time space. So I said to you before, 15-minute meetings or 25-minute meetings, not 30-minute meetings. And you have to be strong and keep to the task with it. And so you save 5 minutes every day on 6 meetings. That gives you half an hour of opportunity time, creative thinking time, time to work on your passion projects, whether they be at work or outside work, time to breathe, time to think. Because in today's world, we just don't get the time to think deeply. We're so busy. We're so flat out organising things, particularly at the moment, where there's more to do. And then there's all the social media elements that we're all invested in as well. We don't get the time to think as deeply as we need to. So having a good brain and being able to develop creativity is, I guess, built on depth of knowledge, not necessarily breadth of knowledge, so that you can use your depth of knowledge and experience to come up with better creative solving issues. So make the time, don't just find the time. Don't say I haven't got the time, make it. Do that 25-minute meeting and save yourself those 5 minutes as well. It's not going to work every day. And then you can put opportunity time into your calendar to think about those areas that you to work on. And I suppose in business terms, we would say that's working on the business, not in the business. So not beavering away doing our daily tasks. We're actually sitting up there with that sort of helicopter view and having a think about the things that we should do something about. And of course, the other thing about this is that that time will help you with incubation of ideas and illumination and give you the time to let all of those little neurons work together, all of those different parts of your brain to connect up and come up with something new. And also, the other thing about this is that when you do procrastinate, it's because our brains don't like that. They're lazy. And they'll make you procrastinate, then push through it, push through the pain points, and you'll see the difference. If you push through that procrastination stage by doing some of these little creative tip, tricks and hacks, it'll break that procrastination stage. It'll get your mind moving and action orientated. The last point is be nice to yourself. Well-being and being mindful about things is not. Do some meditation, be kind to yourself. Give yourself regular breaks, and it does help with your creativity as well. And I mentioned those things before. Do something you love and all that passion as well, and that's important. Don't say that you haven't done nothing. I didn't do anything today. I was stressed out and anxious. Say you rested. Say that you recuperated. Say that you shortened your list of things to do. Say you had a mental health day, that you took a nap. It's not that you're not doing anything. You're just trying to look after yourself. As well, and it's really important to do something that you love. Okay, most of us don't spend enough time doing the things that really spark ourselves and really spark our creativity as well. And of course, do mini breaks. So hopefully I haven't gone too long with this video. My name's Diane Phillips, diane.phillips, phillips at canberra.edu.au. And if you'd like to have a chat with me, feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to have a quick chat with you about some other techniques and elements as well. Thanks very much for listening. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.